Hello, and welcome back to my channel, Brit's Book Club. Today, I'm going to be doing kind of a fun video. If you're anything like me, then your Goodreads goal is not quite complete and the end of the year is approaching. So I thought it might be kind of fun to do a video that is all about some quick reads, some very short books that you could go right through and meet that Goodreads goal. Some of these books I have physical copies of and some of them I don't. So I'll be putting an image up on the screen whenever I don't have a physical copy. And with all of that being said, let's just get right into the list. So first, if you know anything about me, you know that I'm a big Sanderson fan. So the first three books on my list are Sanderson novellas, Edgedancer. Now I will say that for the first two, Edgedancer and my second Sanderson novella pick, they are part of the Stormlight Archive. So if you have not read all of the Stormlight Archive books 1 and 2 before this one, and then 1 through 3 before the next pick, then you may not be as invested in some of the characters by reading this, but I will say Edgedancer and Dawnshard, which are my pick number 2, they do focus on side characters as opposed to the main characters in Stormlight Archive, so you might be able to read these without it affecting too much. They are very quick reads. Edgedancer is 265 pages, and I want to say Dawnshard is about the same. So Edgedancer and Dawnshard would make good picks. My third Sanderson novella pick is actually called The Emperor's Soul. If you've not heard of this novella, it takes place in the same world as Elantris, and it's Sanderson's very first published novel. And you don't have to have read Elantris to read The Emperor's Soul. They're completely separate stories, even though they take place on the same world. But it is very short. It's very good. I listened to the audiobook of it about a year ago, and I loved it. It's a very concise, tight story, and it's got very, very good storytelling, all of the regular Sanderson stuff that you've come to expect. And I will put down in the description links out to all of these books in case you are interested in picking them up. So those three novellas from Brandon Sanderson would be good choices if you are trying to speed through your Goodreads goal before the end of the year, and you need something that still feels very fantastical with all of its familiar Sanderson tropes, but in kind of a tinier package. So my next pick is kind of similar to Edgedancer and Dawnshard in that it is actually a novella that is part of a larger series. And I have not actually read this yet. I own it, but I have not read this book yet, and that is The Slow Regard of Silent Things. So this is a novella about Ori. She is a character in The Name of the Wind. And again, just like Edgedancer and Dawnshard, it is a novella focused on a side character from that main book series. If you haven't read The Name of the Wind in The Wise Man's Fear, then you may not want to read this because it might spoil some stuff for you. But I'm going to actually be reading this before the end of the year to help with my Goodreads goal. If you really love that world, if you really like those characters and Ruthfuss's prose, then this would be a good pick for you as well. Now, the next couple of picks I don't have a physical copy of. I read them via ebook, and that is Every Heart a Doorway and the rest of the Wayward Children series. So this book series is a portal fantasy, and if you've watched some of my previous videos, you know that portal fantasy is not quite really my thing. It's usually not what I reach for. However, I read Every Heart a Doorway thanks to the recommendation of a fellow book lover. I absolutely loved the first book. I read it earlier this year. Tor right now, like today when I'm filming, which is Tuesday, December 1st, and this whole week, Tor is actually releasing the ebooks of each of the books in this series for free on their website, on Tor.com. So if you jump there and download the free ebook, then that will give you this whole series. All of the books in the series are novellas, and they are very, very quick reads. I read Every Heart a Doorway in one night because it was just, it's very hooking. It grips you immediately. It's not like your standard portal fantasy, I think. And the writing and the storytelling in it is fantastic. So I actually downloaded the second book today, so I plan to read that as well. And the rest of the series, like I said, will be available to download on Tor.com. You just have to sign up for their newsletter if you're not already signed up. And if you are not able to get to that promotion, they do also have a box set pretty cheap right now for those books that I'll link down in the description. But yeah, those books are great, fantastic portal fantasy if you're interested in that, and very, very fantastic. A little dark, but it's great. It's great. It's the kind of series that you go in kind of expecting it to be one way, and then the author is able to flip those expectations for you. Also, just speaking of Tor, Tor.com does novella releases every once in a while. I don't remember how frequent it is, but those are always good picks too, because obviously a novella is shorter than a novel. And all of these picks so far have been novellas, in case you have not picked that up. So any novella released by Tor.com is probably a good option also. So next, I just have a couple more random picks. They're not necessarily your standard fantasy, and some of them you may be a little surprised by. My first pick in the next list, Good Omens. So again, Good Omens is not actually something I've read, but I have read a lot of Gaiman, and I love his writing style. I've been meaning to give this a shot to try it out myself. But what I do know about Good Omens is that it's a fairly short read. It's very fast-paced. You're able to kind of crank through this. Yeah, it's a little over 300 pages, so this would be a good book also. And then you can go watch the Amazon TV show if you're interested in that and see how well of an adaptation they were able to do. So speaking of Neil Gaiman, I have another pick by Neil Gaiman. It is a book that also was adapted into a movie already called Stardust. So I read Stardust when I was in high school and I absolutely loved it. I did read it after I watched the movie. But that is another book by Neil Gaiman that is very quick. You can get right through it. Neil Gaiman has just a wonderful way of writing, and so I think that that kind of helps you get through his books a lot easier, even if they do seem like they're a little bit longer of a page count. But so Stardust would also be my next pick. Next, I have a pick that falls more into being YA as opposed to adult fantasy, and that is Sabriel. So if you've watched a couple other of my videos, I've mentioned this book series a couple of times. It's by Garth Nix, and it is the first book in what is now called the Old Kingdom series. It used to be called the Abhorsen trilogy, so you may have heard it by either name. This book is also, it's a pretty quick read as well. It's about 500 pages, but that being said, you're able to blow through it very quickly. It is about necromancy, so if you have read like Gideon the Ninth and Harrow the Ninth, and you're kind of looking for more necromancy, this might be a fun book to give a shot. But yeah, so Sabriel by Garth Nix. And my last pick for short, quick reads that you could probably get through to finish your Goodreads goal is actually The Hobbit. So I don't recall right off the top of my head how long The Hobbit is. I know it's shorter than The Lord of the Rings, but The Hobbit is it's a classic. It's a fun tale. It's something that if you're interested in, you could read to children or siblings or friends and do kind of like a buddy read with them. This is a good time of year also to kind of get into it. The Hobbit is such a fun, fantastical tale, and it just would make a nice book to curl up next to the fire with and read. And I think you could probably get through it very quickly if you sat down and read it. So those were my picks. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Plan to have more videos up soon. And I hope that at least one of these books might be able to help you get closer to your Goodreads goal. I myself am like 3 or 4 books away, so I've got my fingers crossed that I'll be able to meet it this year. I have not met it in the last few years. And with that being said, if you wouldn't mind, please leave me a comment down below with what books you think would be good, quick reads to get through before the end of the year to meet your Goodreads goal. Because especially if they weren't already on this list, because I had to like really rack my brain to find some shorter reads, because I tend to reach for longer books books. So any quick reads that you guys have that you think that other people might be interested in, or that I would be interested in reading in order to make that Goodreads goal, please do comment them down below. I'd love to see them. And with all of that being said, I hope that you have a good rest of your day wherever you are, and I will see you in another video. Bye!